Welcome back everyone. Today's build is going to be an interesting one. As far as I know, nobody else has tried this. I am going to recycle this old one that ended in failure. I am also going to reuse one of these stones, not the point one, the flat one. It's time to clean up the container. Now that it has been completely washed and dried, we can move on to the next step, and that would be the stones. Stones need to be separated before they can be used. In other words, I need to break them apart. That's a shame. I really liked it, but the problem is that they are too big for my use. As you can see, it was a lot of work. Now I would need to smash this one into even smaller pieces. For that, I am using another stone. Even though I spent so much effort smashing this, I didn't use a lot of it. I suppose that I could have avoided using this totally. My original plan for this was to make a canyon-like terrain, but it wasn't quite working out. I scrapped it altogether, mainly because I couldn't see the river. Here is a closer look of the pump that I am using. As you can see, it's a medium-sized one. It's fairly strong, but I would like it to be bigger. I will talk more about that later. I originally thought of using these stones to hold it in place, but then I decided to use this piece of driftwood instead just because it looked nicer and it also reduces the weight of it. I'm locking it in place with some silicone. I used lots of it just to make sure that it won't come about later. I am using these stones to hold it in place while the silicone is drying. The next day the silicone has dried. So I decided to do a test to see how much water it can pump. As you can see, it's not pumping a lot, but this much will do. Since this part of the wood was unstable, so I am gluing a few pieces of rock together. I decided to use a piece of filter foam for the pump. As you can see, it's not sinking properly, but I have a way around it. For now, I am just draining the water and cleaning the silicone. Yes, I am using some tinfoil, which is not a good college. You can probably tell why. If not, then you'll see later on why. I should have used plastic foil for this, but I couldn't find any at the time. As you can see, I have put the expanding foam in there. Now all I have to do is to wait for the expanding foam to dry up. Some of the expanding foam has stuck to the glass, so I will have to scrape it off. After seeing this, you probably know why using aluminium foil is a problem, because the expanding foam sticks to it. That can be problematic when cleaning. And expanding foam didn't dry on the underside. That forced me to put another layer on. Now I will have carved that out also. That's another pain in the neck. Using a box cutter seems to be more efficient at removing a lot of material, but it's not that good for detail work. Now it's time for another test run, and that ended up being stronger than I expected. It seems that shortening the tube and running the pump for the power makes it a lot stronger. That's obvious anyway. I originally thought of using this container, but I ended up removing it later on because it was interfering with the build. I also thought of only using these stones, but as I continued to work on it, I realized that it was blocking the view of the river, so I decided to dismantle and redo it again. Only this time I used sandstone instead. Even though it looked nice from the top, but looking from the side, it wasn't that good. I suppose that it was, but it wasn't what I was trying to make. As you can see, I have added more foam because it gave me more material to work with. By using a tweezer, I am slowly going to carve it out. That took a long while, but now it's time and the storms. I will start with the reverse section. I am also adding pieces of driftwood here and there to add to the contrast. After all, there is how a river looks like in real life. I will show you some images to help you understand it better. Here I am trying to replicate what you saw in the images. By using big and small branches, I want some drinking some of them to make it look like that because of the strong current that was broken over time. Now it is time to cover up the exposed foam by some of this substrate that has dried up this mostly cocoa fiber. You can just use cocoa fiber if you like, but this is a cheaper alternative. Here I am doing an experiment to see if I can make something that I can use more easily. It's kind of similar to chewing gum. It is just a mixture of silicone and soil. It is useful in some cases, but the downside to this is that it dries quickly, so you have to use it really fast, and you can't make large portions of it, because by the time you are going to use it, it probably already be a solid. This can be a good thing in some cases where you want it to dry quickly, as silicone takes a long time to dry, 24 hours to be more precise. As you can see, I am putting some sand on there and using super glue to lock it in place. Now I will have to select what I'm going to use to cover the rest of it. I have two choices here. I can use crushed charcoal or I can use slate stone dust. I will do a little test to see which one looks nicer. The charcoal does look nicer than the slate stone, but there are lots of other choices out there. You can use dragonstone, lava rock or limestone. These are the more common ones, but there are a lot more choices out there, thousands of them. I am just roughing it out with a tweezer because a rock doesn't look flat. Now I will address the filtration problem with the pump. I can't put this foam after it's in the container, so I will stick it on now to avoid any problems later. It's a bit big, so I'm going to cut it to length. It wouldn't have been a problem even if I had left it as is. I am using some super glue to lock it in place. I have given it a nice little bath to clean off any debris that might have been left over. When I was washing it, I realized that there was a problem. It was leaking a lot of water, so I needed to fix that. For that I'm going to use some silicone and cover the whole underside of this. Here is the container. It has gotten a bit dusty over the few days that it was sitting there. Now it's time to fight it up and see how it looks. It looks okay, but I would like the water flow to be a bit stronger. But I don't have a stronger pump, so I will have to make do with this. I would recommend that you use a bigger and stronger pump than the one that I'm using. There is a lot of space. These are all of the moss and plants that I'm using. I have a few types of fern and moss here that I have collected from the woods. Here are some more of them. I may or may not use this one. This might just be some Laocolia bantriensis, strange name. I know that it's probably a Latin name, as most moss are named in Latin. Now I will start planting. I will also use some Niam hornum or horn calcareous moss for this. Now it's time to hide the pump with some stones and gravel. Now I will also have to clean up the glass because it is getting a bit difficult to see what's inside. Now I can finally seal up the container and be finished. As you can see, even after my best efforts, I could not only block all of the links, but they are minimal. Thank you for watching, and if you like what you saw, then consider subscribing to my channel. My friends, see you on the next one.